How's being at home treating you, Coach?
John, it's been great, but I got to be honest with you. Um, I'm going to grow weary of this little arrangement here soon, especially if this thing goes through May and June. But all in all, it's been just fine. I don't have as nearly as neat a setup, obviously, as Coach Fuente. I saw Justin on with you a couple of days ago, and he's got everything all set. We're a year in, we're still emptying boxes around here. So this is the best I've got. I've got a pool table back here. I've got my dog down here under my feet. We're making the best of it.
Yeah, I was meaning to give Coach Fu some grief about that. It seemed like he spent a lot of time that morning setting that up. I was just, Spartan existence here. You got the corner of the liquor cabinet, and all, all those
Necessities of life.
Lexington laser intersection behind me there.
Yeah, Coach was all set up. He's got framed pictures and all
Yeah.
of this. I'm sure Jenny had a lot to do with this, that. Obviously, we haven't gotten to this part of the house and making it more of a home. Again, best we got right now.
Well, actually, I wanted to talk to you about that because all during the course of the season, me and Burnup were kind of joking with you about it. I don't know how funny it was to you, but you guys have actively been
It was
getting
not
that
funny.
house ready.
It was
Yeah.
not funny. And we're still not all the way there. We're close. It's a great home, but and then the virus comes along. We're probably down to the last, couple things to complete before it is that done. The virus comes along. I'm not sure I want to have anybody in here uh, right now, and uh, to their credit, the workers that need to get in are reluctant to come as well. So, we'll get there eventually. I hope.
Well, Coach, let's go back. You mentioned the virus comes in and just dramatically affects life, not just for sports, obviously, but globally and a pandemic. It was almost surreal, and that word's been tossed around quite a bit over the last few weeks. But I felt like from a men's basketball perspective, because the season had, for the most part, played out. You lose to Carolina there in Greensboro, come back ready to hit recruiting and all of those things. What was that week like for you as things started getting canceled and you guys are making then adjustments on the fly to recruiting calendars and how you're going to do some of those things as you reshape the roster?
It was really odd, John. There's no blueprint. If you'll recall, we're on spring break, so we disperse, and guys are some are coming back here, some are leaving to go home with family. Spring break is extended an extra week to give us more time to wait and see, and then things get very real, and games are being called off. Conference tournaments are being called off at halftime. Conference tournaments are being called off before games begin in Greensboro on Wednesday. I think it was, and then everything begins to unravel, and the rest of the semester is called off, and everything is going online. Um, you know, here's the only thing that matters: our players are safe. I feel certain that our student body is safe, um, and until we get a better handle on where this all leads to, that's all that matters. Our players are in a good spot academically, and working with Elisa Vila and the academic folks, and doing their work online, and um, making sure that they continue doing great work there. And uh, what makes it really hard now, John, is that they're home, and for the first time in their lives, they can't get into a gym. The rec center is closed. The YMCA is closed. The local high school is closed. They can't get into a facility to work out. But we're going to manage that and do the best we can with it, and continue to support those guys. And we're talking to them every day, and just going through some things. So we're making the best as we all are. We're making the best of a tough situation.
Coach, you made no secret that going into that period, you were going to be making some changes to the roster. I think one of the first things you told me when you first got to town was, we're going to get a lot bigger. I'm not exactly sure when, but we're going to get a lot bigger. You see a couple of guys enter the transfer portal, Isaiah Wilkins, Landers Nolly. You know you have some guys incoming. Looks like there'll be some added to that through the transfer portal itself, or a grad transfers situation. As you continue to view that, start with Isaiah Wilkins. I felt like that situation was handled so well on both your parts. I've had the opportunity to talk to him, and he had nothing but love for how it happened. But just kind of explain the thought process of how you're trying to remake things.
John, you go into it, any situation, respectfully. Isaiah Wilkins added a lot to this community. He added a lot to the basketball program here in his time on campus, and um, you know, uh, be upfront, be honest, not trying to hide anything. As I told Isaiah, any young person that is a part of our program, wherever I've been, his career, those 4 years that's his time. And those are memorable experiences. And I didn't want to look back and regret not presenting it to him, that I wasn't sure he was going to play the amount of minutes that he wanted to play. I wanted to be again, forthright and honest with him, and he was great. Understood, was appreciative, and I will always be a big Isaiah Wilkins fan. And he's going to go on, and he's going to help somebody win a lot of games, and he's going to have a really a worthwhile 2 years in his next stop, and that's that to me is all that matters. We've added a couple of pieces this spring. We have one more to get. Would like to have more help up front, and we're beating the phones up. That's the best we can do, John. We can't go off campus. We can't have kids on campus. You're talking about strange for both parties. I can't imagine being a high school senior or a transfer and having to make as big a decision as that is, and not having the opportunity to spend time with future teammates, not having the opportunity to sit down in front of the guy you're going to be playing for and look him in the eye, and having frank conversations. But again, as we all know, that's just what we're faced with. And with this technology and FaceTime and so on, you have the opportunity to talk with them a great deal and at length, and certainly helps. But there's nothing like face-to-face contact, and be able to go to their hometown and see them and see their families. Again, where we are, and make the best of it.
Yeah, Coach, that was another question I got a lot from folks was, what is the recruiting pitch for Virginia Tech as it pertains to basketball? And I know for all of our programs, the campus is a big part of that. Just being in Blacksburg is a big part of that. But for you, it's true that style of play is a big part of that too, right? And you were just mentioning some of the technological things that you have now where you can kind of show guys, this is how we're going to utilize you in the three. I think the fans would really enjoy hearing a little more about how you guys are out in front of some of that stuff.
Just in terms of style, in terms of the recruiting pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Just the things you're able to get in front of them, even though you can't physically be in front of them.
This college community, the city of Blacksburg, the world-class education that they're going to receive here. The pitch for grad transfer. And John, I don't anticipate doing a lot of that. I don't think that is how we want to build it. But when there is an opportunity, if you can get some immediate help, that certainly makes sense. But for grad transfer, he's got to work, but he can come here and complete his graduate degree in a year. That will require summer work, the summer prior to coming here, competing, that year, and then a semester, maybe 2 semesters that the following summer. But that's pretty powerful to achieve your graduate degree in just a year's time. Um, this fan base and the great crowds that we had in there night in night out in Castle Coliseum throughout the year. Playing time is they all want to play, and if you could show them concrete evidence, as you look at your roster and your skill set and how it matches up with what we want to do. And I do think the more film young people watch and the freedom with which they're allowed to play is a real selling point. And let's be honest, the Atlanta opportunity to strap it on night in, night out with the people that we're competing against. It's an easy sell, but there's a lot of competition, as well. So, we're talking to a number of them day in, day out, trying to get it exactly right, trying to find exactly the right piece for this roster and for this team, as we look ahead to the 2021 season.
Coach, you just mentioned when we fired this up before we hit record, you and I have known each other now for about a year. It was just about a year ago yesterday, before we record this, that you were named head coach at Virginia Tech. Take us through the year. What was the biggest surprise on the floor or off, and just judging from your reaction there? I know that there were certainly challenges, but also there were a lot of thrills. What are your favorite memories from the year? What surprised you? How do you sit here now differently than you did a year ago?
Gosh, John, I could talk to you for an hour and a half. Just a
Can't
blur
do that
in some
because
ways.
Margaret needs a device.
Hard in some ways. I'd moved one time in the last 30 years. That was 2 blocks down. That move and getting all that squared away in Margaret was awesome. And movers and selling a house, buying a house. A year ago today, April 8th, I sitting in that office. You've heard me say it, and we had 4 players, so we had a bunch of work to do. We had 2 in the transfer portal. We were fortunate enough to get them back, but so much in front of you, putting a staff together, and that came first. Now, for most people, the thought, you better get that roster squared away, and that was certainly pressing, and that was some sleepless nights when considering that. But we had to get our staff in place. I thought, when it's all said and done, that worked out really, really well, and so happy with the people we have, with us, and are doing great work. And now the roster, and so much time on the road, so much time, on the phone, and we missed, and we needed more help up front. We knew that. Just difficult when we got here to get exactly the kind of help that you want. Really, really fortunate to bring Jon Laaser on board. Keve Aluma, who we knew was going to have to sit out. But John, when I think back, and the people that we were able to sell Virginia Tech to, sell them on a vision of how we wanted this to work for them academically, on the floor, at Tech. When I consider, getting Jalen Cone here, and Hunter Couture, and Naheem Alim, John Agioko, others, I feel really good about that. The character of those guys, and what they've brought to the table already, what they're going to continue to bring to our basketball program. Couldn't be more excited about those guys. Could not be more excited about how our roster is evolving, and again, as we look ahead to next year.
Coach, did you have a favorite win from last year? I know wins are like children; you love them all the same. But for me, it was
every one of them, John. Every one of them. Every one of them was savored. I mean, the Michigan State win, and they're number 3 in the country at the time. And Tom Izzo is um, such a respected person in our profession. North Carolina at home was a great win, a win that we got having battled back. We didn't play particularly well, if you recall. North Carolina had something to do with that, but that toughness and those kids hanging in there and continuing to battle and getting it to overtime, and then we went down. If I recall, we went down 4 or 5, came roaring back, big shot, big defensive stand, and then our man Boots Radford lowers that head, gets that ball in his left hand, and gets all the way to the rim and scores it for a win. Was great. The road wins. The win at Syracuse was a great win. Jalen Cone went berserk, but to do that in the Carrier Dome against the Orangemen was a great win. With all the uncertainty and first game, first year, going back to my old stomping grounds, the upstate of South Carolina, against a Clemson team that proved to be a very good team, to go in there game 1 in our first game together and win that one. That one was memorable as well. So a lot of highlights, and there'll be a lot more highlights as we look ahead here and we work together through the years. I look forward to that.
Coach, completely off script. Those that have been watching this have been looking at that very unique Virginia Tech light behind you. Is that a billiard light?
That's a billiard light. It is. It is, John. I've never played pool in my life. That was left. The owners that that we bought the house from, really, really nice people, and they asked if they could leave it, and we were happy that they wanted to. So when it's all said and done, we'll have the team over a lot. We'll have prospects here for a meal, and I guess young people still like to play pool. We're going to do some other things down here: pinball machine, Ms. Pac-Man, those sort of things. Whatever young people like to play. I was a Miss Pac-Man.
They're big on Miss Pac-Man.
That was a long time ago.
No, that was my dad's favorite game by far, Miss Pac-Man. What are the youngs doing during the quarantine? You've got, of course, Davis affected at the high school level, but golf still a little bit on the table right now, I know.
John, I've talked to several coaching friends, and we're all in the same frame of mind. This is hard and so out of our comfort zone. We're supposed to be on the road right now. We're supposed to be looking ahead to next year. We're supposed to have our team back on the floor, but there are more important matters right now as we fight this virus. We're doing our best to practice social distancing. Now, John, Margaret started practicing social distancing 20 years ago, so that's been fairly easy around here. But to have our daughter home, from college, she wants to be at Sewanee with her friends. But to have her home, and we've had dinner together for, I don't know, the last 8 or 9 nights. That never happens, John. It may happen once a week. That never happens. To be able to do that has been great. I mean, those conversations around the table and to laugh and share, and that's been enjoyable for us as parents. She may have a different way of thinking, but she's asked me to come down and watch a matinee with her 3 or 4 times, and I've done that. I've seen some great movies. I haven't seen a movie in 3 or 4 years, but I've seen some great movies together. And Margaret bought me a popcorn machine. We fire up the popcorn machine and we watch a movie in the afternoon. That's awesome. Now for Davis, I pray to goodness, John, they don't shut that golf course down. If they did that, he'd drive us all nuts. I mean, he's over there all the time and loves Blacksburg Country Club and the opportunity to, mingle with friends and play a round of golf, a couple rounds of golf every day. So the family time I've enjoyed a lot. We take a lot of walks together, so a lot of that stuff that I don't take for granted. I value and I am thankful for the opportunity. I just wish it wasn't because of this virus that we're all really concerned about, worried about, and worried about our friends and families and the people across the world. It's a scary time.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But it'll be relieving to a lot of people watching this that you do have a popcorn machine there. I know
I
you
do.
said a lot that when you were at Wofford, no one cared about the popcorn thing. Here at Virginia Tech, they're fascinated by it. Last night, I tweeted out, send me your questions for Coach Young. At least half of them are about popcorn, so let me rapid fire them to you. A lot of people wanted to know, are you straight traditional butter or are you willing to eat kettle corn? Where the tradition started, is it a superstition or do you just like having popcorn in the pregame? We'll start with those two.
Just regular popcorn. No, no. I don't like the butter. I don't like. I don't like it that way. I love the popcorn, John, that you can get in the O'Hare, the airport. The cheese kettle corn. I like that a lot, but just at O'Hare for some reason and I'll buy a big bag and it lasts me quite some time. Um, Part superstitious or superstition, part just kind of what I've done, and I've enjoyed doing it. I'm a nervous wreck. All right, my stomach is in knots. That period before the game is the worst part of the day for me. So, and to sit in that locker room, I'd chew my fingernails off if I had to do that. So to come out and visit with some of the opposing players. Not so much this year, but in years past, we had recruited some of those guys, and I admire those young people and how they play, and some of those conversations. I really enjoy to visit with colleagues and from the other staffs. I enjoy that and catching up and asking about families, but it's like the duck up top. I'm calm and everything's okay with the world. Down below, I'm kicking like crazy and scared out of my mind and in anticipation for that night's game. But you mentioned it, and I mentioned it to you. I've done it for many years, and at Wofford, nobody cared a lick, and I come here and it's a thing. So hope nobody minds. Just kind of something I've done for a long time.
Coach, when you first got here, and your personality, of course, being from here, reminded a lot of people of Coach Beamer. And of course, you have Stephanie Boleyn on your staff, who is married to John Boleyn, who is basically married to Coach Beamer. They called you at times Coach Beamer in sneakers. And I don't bring that up because I know you don't love the comparisons, win losses and stuff like that just yet. But one thing fans probably don't know is you and Coach have actually been walking a little bit through the quarantine, getting some exercise in sneakers. And I was with you guys for about 3 minutes the other day, and I just thought that interaction was pretty cool. And Hokies would love to be a fly circling around that conversation.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities between myself and Coach Beamer, John. The difference being is about 350 wins. So the comparisons begin and end with that winning percentage. He is he's Virginia Tech. He is a legendary figure, and John asked me to walk with him. Some time ago. We did a couple of times last fall, early winter, but now that we have a bit more time, I'll go over to campus, and I thoroughly enjoy, like a fly on the wall. We walk for 45 minutes or so, and those stories, and to visit with Coach and John, and how this football program was built, and just great stories, and I thoroughly enjoy that time, and hope to continue to do it.
Coach, when you look at coaches like that, and maybe some of the others that were in your life or you viewed from the outside when you were getting into this profession, or even maybe before that? Who are some of the people that got you on this coaching path that you've been on now?
My dad, pardon me, John. My dad, who we lost recently, as you know, Dad started his career in education as at Old Dublin High School before it consolidated with Pulaski to become Pulaski County High School back in the late '70s, I believe. He coached football and baseball. My uncle Norman Linneberg, longtime football coach at Bradford High School, a ton of everybody in my family are football people. I think they thought I was a sister, gravitated over the basketball. I hated being cold. I enjoyed. I was never cold. I was never cold in the gym, and that holds true today. Fletcher Aird at Fork Union Military Academy, who I had the opportunity to play for in 1981, 82, who has been like a dad to me for a long, long time. Bob Johnson, I played for at Emory and Henry. I didn't play very well, but I played for him, and a mentor, a dear friend. And then it was Coach Johnson that gave me my first opportunity to begin my coaching career in 1986. And I had a 2-year stint with him, and those were great memories. The ODAC that's still in existence today, and great Division III league, competitive, great coaches, and a great place for anyone to cut their teeth and figure some things out and have an opportunity to get on the floor and find your voice and coach. And there's been so many others, John, that I don't know personally, but have admired and enjoyed watching, their teams play. And I'm doing a lot of that right now, watching others play, trying to find, we're not going to recreate the wheel here at this point in my career, but to see others play, and if we could pick up something defensively that is intriguing to us. We're always talking amongst ourselves, our staff, and sharing with other coaches. I've had a lot of influences, John. Those are some that come to mind.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned there at the top, you unfortunately lost your father, Bob, about a week after the season ended. And that's certainly something that not a lot of people from the outside knew that you were dealing with during the course of the season, was his health. And I don't want to focus on that, but I wanted to focus on the cool part of it, was that he was able to get to the Castle for the home finale, saw that tremendous performance and win over Clemson. My mom was there, and she was chatting with him for a little while, actually. And also he got to see your first season as the coach back here, basically of the hometown team. So in a circular fashion, some great things to take along with it. But, how difficult was that, just co-managing those two situations there for the months that you were?
You know what, John? One regret. My dad was 83 years old. He suffered from congestive heart failure, which there's no cure, as you know. He lived a great life, and he would be the first to tell you that. The only regret I have is his partner in life called me the day before he passed away, and he was sick. He felt awful, and he was irritable and having a hard time catching his breath, and I couldn't see him. And that will bother me. I couldn't see him because of the virus. I told him, I said, Dad, I'm worried about you first and foremost. I don't know if I have it. I don't know if you have it. And, out of respect for everyone, but obviously I didn't realize that the time was that short. But hey, John, we had so many great times together. For many years, I love baseball. I've always been a huge baseball fan. And my father-in-law, my dad, my son, and a couple of my brother-in-law who lives in Camden, South Carolina, his son, we would go to Milwaukee and we'd see a 3-game series. When we were in Milwaukee, we drove down, is it 70 to Chicago to see the Cubs in Wrigley Field. we went to Nationals Park. We went to Camden Yards. We went to a lot of places. Boston to Fenway Park, which we all love Fenway Park, and saw a series up there, and so many great memories. And probably the most lasting memory I'll have is, and I think of Dad, is just how proud he was that I was here, and he was so proud, and to see him at games and that smile, and to see the Hokies play, and bothered him bad being in the hospital in January, February, and he couldn't get over here. But you know, what a treat, and nothing short of a blessing for him to be here for that Clemson game. I'll never forget as long as I live. As the color guard is walking off the floor and our team is coming back to the bench in preparation for tip-off, and I made eye contact with him sitting across from us, and I threw up my hand and he threw up his hand. I'll never forget that. So it's been a tough couple of weeks, but I will carry with me great memories of my father.
It's amazing stuff, Coach. And thank you for sharing that. I'm sure Hokies will really appreciate that. We can't end there, though. I know Margaret needs the Zoom back here in just a few minutes, but we've got some quarantine quick hitters. One of them comes from your manager, who's also going out that day, it's senior day, Dylan Orell. He wants to know how quickly you feel we can get a Jersey Mike's sponsorship in place in time for year 2.
Pretty quickly. I'm over there quite a bit. I like those guys. The young man that runs the store is a good fella, and it's quick. They're efficient. They do a great job. Sarah back there behind the counter. We're working on it, John. We're working on it.
Who's doing the cooking? Who's food preparing right now in the young house during this situation?
There are a lot of local restaurants. We've got everything kind of hooked up here. I guess Margaret's cooking maybe once or twice. The kitchen's ready, but we're trying. John, we want to support the restaurants that have taken such a hit here during this time, and our way of supporting them. And we got our nights squared away, and we've enjoyed that.
They've also taken to delivering cold ones. I'm not sure if you knew that or not.
Wasn't aware of that. Will get you to hold on after the call is over. I wasn't aware of that. That's a great thought. I'll tell you what, that's a great thought.
Well, I'll do a trial run and send one your way, and
please,
for doing this. Well, Coach, we'll let you go, man. But hopefully this doesn't stretch on too long. But if it does, I know we'll connect again and keep on doing what you're doing, my man.
John, I appreciate you, buddy. Best wishes to Renee. I'll see you in the neighborhood.